Hello viewers of BRM TV and welcome to this special DVD presented live from the Gardens and Steam Railway of Exbury in Hampshire. Let's take a look.
When I first built it, I thought I'd created a monster. It was so difficult to run. So I thought, oh, this isn't right. But as we've done, we got to the third exhibition, then you get into it. Because I'd not done all gauge before, this is the first all gauge layout I'd built. So that was a new thing. Never had to sort a program out or nothing. And it can't run without a program. Because the operators are so far away, you can't contact them, so we're just all mic'd up, and then we use the a number system so that everybody knows what the train is. So the trains don't carry their own number; they've just got a sequence that we use.
So Keith, tell us a little bit about Apethorn Junction. How many years has it been on the circuit now?
8 years, so that's quite a bit, isn't it? Yeah. Well, when it first started off, going towards the fiddle yard was only 2 foot wide. It was 2 foot wide then, but it didn't look enough. Compared to this end being so wide, the layout seemed lopsided. So I'd got all the scenery at one end, nothing at the other end. So I had to try and move it along to make it even, because otherwise you just lose the look at that end. So I widened that end another 2 foot, so that made it better. First of all, I widened it and made a goods yard, but didn't get used. So then people were building lots of DMU sets. So I thought, right, we'll make it into a DMU base. So that was better for that use. And at the minute, the layout now, every piece of track is used at the exhibition. There isn't a piece of track we don't use. It's really good, that's how it works out. So we've nothing less standing anywhere, and yeah, it works good, it's good.
Now, most layout builders tend to have a favourite part of the layout, something that they really, really like. What's yours?
Favourite bits of the layout? Ooh, wow, that's a good one, that's a good one. I suppose in developing this end that we're looking at now, there didn't used to be anything in the middle, it was just a void in the middle. So I thought, I need something to fill that in, so I started to build the mill. So I like this end because it's got a good depth to it. It's got the height as well. I need to build, though, a tower now for the mill. So I think I'll cantilever a tower that sits on that side of the mill, and I think it'll improve it a bit better. But yes, I like this end. It is, yeah.
Now, I can't help but notice that the lighting setup's a little bit different, so can you tell us a little bit about the angle poise lamps that you've decided to use around the layout, please?
Because of being able to pack them away in the space we've got. If I were to make a lighting rig, then I wouldn't be able to fit it all in one vehicle. This all fits in one vehicle, everything. So the angle poise lamps all fit in the end troughs. They end up being carrying cases So everything fits into those. So everything that we have, we use twice. We use all the trucks that store the boards on for the fiddle yard legs, so we don't end up with anything stood at the back or redundant while we're at the exhibition.
Thanks for that, Keith.
Okay, so
Much appreciated. Yeah, I think, well, he's just going to do a few. So what does the future hold for the layout?
What's the next step? New program. Keep people on the toes. And every time I go home with it, every time it goes back home, I do some bits on it to tidy it up. I'd never bring it out if something had got broken. It's refitted every time I go home, and then it comes back out nice again. Nothing's damaged. The public like it, so we do get a buzz off that, you know. So that's quite nice. That only yesterday somebody had put something on YouTube to say they'd enjoyed it. So yeah, that's good. That's great. That's what we do.
Right, well while Howard's busy playing trains, I've brought the workbench out into the garden, and appropriately enough, I'm going to be making some 4mm scale ferns. Well, I haven't really built a garden, but I have got a garden centre, so our garden centre is going to be having a nice big plant sale. Now, that means, first of all, I'm going to need some planters, and for that I shall be using some laser cut planters from modelrailwayscenery.com. And these are nicely cut in what we call laser board, which appears to be some sort of stout cardboard to me. Very simple, just cut the various parts out, and they're retained with little tabs. And then you can see I'm just using a normal sharp scalpel because the tabs are very tiny. And then the parts interlock, and we'll just a little smear of I'm using alphatic resin glue. Right, I'll let that dry while I cut out the rest of the bits. The great thing about laser cutting is the accuracy can be absolutely incredible, and it does speed up construction enormously. You can, once you've got a bit of practice, you can be knocking these planters out very quickly indeed. And there we have it. A quick planter suitable for your garden. The kit contains quite a lot of planters, and you've got small square ones and 4 long planters as well, so enough for most people's patio in one very small sheet. To plant my fern, I'm actually going to use a little bit of balsa wood because I need to fill the planter up with something to stick the fern into. Just going to trim down a bit of square balsa wood until it fits into the hole, and glue it in place. You might think my ferns are going to come from something fluffy and scenic, but in fact they're going to come from one of the least likely materials, etched brass. ScaleLink have done a series of etched brass plants for many, many years, and we don't actually see them very often on model railway layouts, and yet they are excellent. So we have grasses, we have various fronds, and a great big sheet of metal ferns, and that's what we're going to be using today. All you do is select the fern you want and cut it out with a reasonable size craft knife. Just cut anywhere where it's attached to the fret, which is down at the bottom of the stalk in this case, and on some of the fronds. Don't worry about getting it too precise, as long as you don't cut off more than you want to. And nothing more sophisticated than a really cheap pair of scissors will deal with that. This metal is very, very thin indeed. Right, now, first things first, ferns don't grow flat like etched brass things, so just twist the leaves with a pair of pliers. That's it. And then, say it's not quite such a straight up plant, just put a bit of a twist in the stalk, and then put some bends into the leaves, because ferns are quite floppy. I can tweak these a bit afterwards as well with the fingers. This is all looking a bit golden shiny, so before we paint it, we're going to need to make sure the paint will actually stick to the surface, and for that, to make the paint stick properly, you're going to need an etching primer. Now, this is an acid etch primer that I bought from Halfords from the car parts section. It's basically going to etch itself into the metal surface and provide a really, really good key for the paint. And then we just give the plant a little bit of a spray. No need to really cover the plant with the spray. You just want to discolour the brass slightly. That's enough to provide the key for the paint. So I'm just going to use a pale green that I happen to have. Try not to get gallons of the stuff on here. And there we are. The fern is rapidly changing colour. I'll give it a minute and I'll be able to plant it. Should say, all this stuff about painting is exactly the same as you do for any other etched brass kit. The difference is it's probably not going to matter if you mess up a little bit on a fern. And finally, just to plant the fern, I'm putting a little bit of, this is actually canopy glue, but any PVA based glue will be ideal for this sort of job. And just grab the fern and poke it straight into the balsa wood block. And there we are. So there we have it, a little bit more stock for the garden centre sale. I just hope that the customers appreciate them.
To find out more about the idyllic gardens surrounding Exbury House and its narrow gauge railway, I caught up with its PR and marketing manager.
I'm Susie James, I'm the PR and marketing manager here at Exbury Gardens and Steam Railway. The Steam Railway was a passion of one of the family members, Leo de Rothschild, and he loved them when they were models. He had them in the house and grew up just adoring anything to do with railways. And so he decided for a prominent birthday to invest in one for the gardens, a real sort of life-sized one. So in 2001 it was opened and he was absolutely thrilled to be able to have his narrow gauge railway, and he modelled the platform on Aviemore. And he'd had lots and lots of help from around the country with the carriages and with the main locomotive. And it opened in 2001, and we're very excited because for 2017 we're going to be having an extension to increase the size of the line. So it's a wonderful addition here that our visitors love it. It's something for every single generation, and he passed sadly a few years ago, but it's very much the legacy of him that lives on. We have a plant centre on site, so we do encourage people as they pass out of the gates that they can take home one of our, like you say, rhododendrons, azaleas, magnolias, because we're very proud that we also have a propagation centre in our glass houses where we grow the individual rhododendrons and we create hybrids as well from them. We have over 50 staff here on a full-time basis. We have 10 gardeners, we have the visitors entrance staff, we have a large team on the steam railway as well, and we have the office staff, and we have seasonal staff who we couldn't manage without in our peak seasons such as now. So it takes a lot and each element is as important as the other. So we have tea rooms as well, so everybody works incredibly hard to make this a visitor attraction. We like to feel that appeals to everyone in the family. And we're going to add another station. We have Exbury North where the train stops for refuelling, but we're going to add another stop in for the summertime because we have a wonderful collection of dragonflies that congregate over the lake. So visitors will be able to stop and there'll be a viewing gallery, and then they'll be able to hop on the next train or go for a wander through the gardens. If you go to our website, www.exbury.co.uk, it's a wealth of information on there. There's literally every conceivable piece of information from our location, our ticket prices, you can buy tickets online, our footplate experiences, through to our summer steam soirees and our family events, all detailed on there.
Now, there can't be many of us who haven't travelled behind a steam locomotive, but what does it take to prepare one from cold? It's something we rarely see, as it's usually hidden from public view. So, to discover the daily locomotive lighting routine here at Exbury, I met with Alan on Shed.
Good morning, Howard. Good morning. Welcome. Welcome to Exbury Garden Steam Railway.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I can see we've got a little narrow gauge locomotive here. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, it was built in 2002 by the Exmoor Steam Railway in North Devon. They set out initially by developing their own steam railway, but then decided that because of the demand from others for similarly sized locomotives, which they built themselves, that they'd go into business manufacturing locomotives, which they still do to the current day very successfully. We've got two identical locomotives, Naomi and Rosemary behind you. Okay. We've got one larger locomotive, again built by Exmoor Steam Railway, which is again to the 12.5-inch gauge, but a very large track gauge for this size of track. The most important thing with any steam locomotive is water. Yep. If you like to lift that cap off there, Howard, you can see that the water level in the tank is just
about an inch shy of the top there.
Which is perfect. We have two tanks on either side. There's a balanced pipe between the two, so it doesn't matter which side you fill the loco from. We look just down below you and you see what's called the steam lubricator. Yep. And steam oil is different to bearing oil because it actually atomizes in the steam and lubricates the inside of the cylinders to prevent them seizing. And we check that we have enough sand to stop us slipping, which we quite possibly will do today, as it's obviously very wet outside. Okay, to check that the sand will actually deploy onto the track beneath the wheels, we lift that lever there up and back down immediately, and that should have deposited some sand underneath the main driving wheel.
Yep, that's good.
You remember we were talking about how important water is in the boiler, the level of water in the boiler? These two items here are what's called sight glasses. As the name depicts, they are giving you, the driver of the locomotive, an indication, a very important indication, of the level of the water actually in the boiler. As you can see here, the glass is slightly discoloured where the water's in the glass. So we check them before we light the fire to ensure that they are reading correctly. And you do that by lifting this lever here, and you see the level of the water in the glass go down to 0. Shut the lever again, it should restore to exactly the same level which it's doing. And we do that on both glasses. So do you want to try that one?
Sure.
It's called a blowdown valve. That's it.
So that means that we've got a safe amount of water in the boiler, and there's no risk of it blowing up
When we light the fire.
when we light the fire.
Quite correct.
But I can't help notice these two here. So what do these two levers here do?
Now we've cut the checking of these sight glasses short slightly. They allow you to isolate the sight glass should the sight glass blow.
Okay.
They do blow occasionally, very occasionally, and these levers here allow you to shut the steam off and the water off from the boiler. This is called the smoke box. The boiler actually ends there, and in here you have a smoke box which we have to clean, and the tubes also which run through the boiler each morning before we start. To open it, that lever goes down, and to protect our paintwork,
I mean, it is brilliant, shiny paintwork. So
consider the age of the locomotives, they are very, very good indeed. And there we go, all right? You can see there the 41 tubes. The pipe, the vertical pipe, is what's called a blast pipe, and that's for the steam once we've used it, exiting the steam from the cylinders up through the blast pipe.
and that
Okay?
creates more draw to the fire in.
Correct. It creates a vacuum, so it's important this seals, hence the lock on the door. It creates a draft. In turn, the draft draws the air right the way through the tubes, through the boiler, and replaces the amount of steam that you've used. So very efficient in that manner.
I can do anything. I can reach any goal today. I can do what I want. I can be what I want to be.
And then the next stage will be to actually light the fire. And to do that, of course, we need some coal. Could I perhaps ask you to get a bucket full of coal?
No problem.
Okay, Howard, now the most satisfying part of any driver experience course is lighting the fire, which is what we're now going to do.
That's what we are all familiar with. So, oily diesely rag,
Yes, which we now
one
light,
shovel,
which we're going to light.
one match.
Okay, just let it catch. There we go. Okay,
Okay.
and gently into the actual firebox, fairly near the door.
Yep.
Okay. And shut the fire door between each loading of wood. You can put several pieces on at once.
Yep.
So because of the smoke, we're going to wheel 6 tons outdoors just to make sure that we don't transform this into a fumigation place.
Keep going. Until we gently...
Just nudge the other. Okay.
Handbrake is now on. And incidentally, whenever you leave a locomotive, the locomotive will always have the handbrake on, the regulator shut, drain cocks open, and the reverser, which is like your gearbox in a car, in what's called mid-gear.
Well viewers, I'm afraid that's all we've got time for this episode. We've really enjoyed ourselves here today at Exbury. And don't forget, if you like narrow gauge railways, then you can take a look at our 2 other sister railway titles, Narrow Gauge World and Garden Rail. You'll find the details available on our website. Until next issue, take care.
So this is the Oxford Rail Dean Goods locomotive of the Great Western Railway. Over 100 were built during the end of the 19th century, and they carried in use through to the early 1950s. So you would have seen them in a number of different Great Western Railway liveries, and also of course BR Freight Black. The Dean Goods was a typical Great Western Railway freight engine and would have been seen operating some of the heaviest freight trains during the beginning of the 20th century. The longevity of the Dean Goods was thanks to its light axle load. Being an unclassified loco as it was described, not only would it operate out of London at the beginning of its career, by the end it was well known in the Welsh Valleys and Mid Wales area, as well as right down into the far end of Cornwall. The Dean Goods is completely new design and engineering. It will be locomotive hauled, so the motor is in the front of the loco where it should be, and the tender is therefore free for us to put a sound decoder and speaker in. You'll also notice the prototypical height of the coal in the tender, significantly different from anything you'll have been able to purchase previously. The model is a 5-pole motor, it's DCC ready, and will be supplied DCC sound fitted as an option straight from our factory. The retail prices will be just over £100, and the model will be available in the 3rd quarter of this year. I'm Tim Mulhall from Oxford Diecast. This is the most recent item that we're developing under our Oxford Rail team, and this is going to be produced for Golden Valley Hobbies, and it's in the 060 Janus diesel shunter. So this is the Golden Valley Hobbies Janus locomotive, an 060 diesel shunter, built between the late 1950s and the early 1960s. Over 100 were made at that time, and they were often used in industry, steel, coal and the Port of London. They were then resold to many other industrial users. You'll typically find them from BP, ICI, and back over to British Steel at the end of their lives. They were in use right up until the last few years on British Steel's plants. So the locomotive has a 5-pole motor, be DCC ready. We'll also have a DCC sound fitted version with speakers included within one side of the engine bonnet. The fine detail will include the exhaust caps, the air filters and all the fine wiring for handrails. The final price will be under £100. The liveries that we're initially producing are British Steel, Port of London Authority, BP and National Coal Board. Each of them will have a separate 3-pack 7-plank wagon set that can be sold at the same time, so you'll have some wagons that will match the locomotive with an inspired livery from the locomotive. With the engineering sample now being tested, we'd expect the next version to be in full livery sample, which will come out during the summer.